Hello, and thank you for joining me for our A Time for Talent series. Today, I'm excited to be joined by the lovely Cindy Aliszewski from Across the Waters in Philadelphia. Cindy is VP of HR Transformation for GSK, and this year celebrates 26 years with the organisation, which is amazing. Prior to her current role, Cindy was VP for Global Recruitment, as well as holding many other positions across the years. So thank you for joining me, Cindy. I know that we've talked in previous discussions around strategies for attracting diverse talent. And my first question to you is this purely a matter for your senior recruitment leaders, or is it something that the wider organisation should pay more attention to?
I mean, it's a great question, and thanks so much for the wonderful introduction. Really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. Look, uh, attracting diverse talent or having a broader DE&I strategy, it's not HR's problem. Best in class strategies, right, can be developed by your HR team or your recruitment team, and they can provide you with the framework. But it's really the line managers and employees who need to get out there and execute against that strategy. And if you're talking specifically about recruitment, they need to execute against the strategy, whether they have an opening today or not, right? And I think that's hard to get your organization or even a department's sort of head around.
When it comes to initiating that, we've talked about the importance of employer reputation and making talent want to envision themselves at your company, working with your teams. How do you go about that? How do you go about creating your employer reputation?
Wow. So also another good question, but that's a sort of a big thing to tackle. Um, First off, your employer reputation, it has to be authentic, right? And it can't be something that you or a marketing team creates, you put out there, and then when people come into the organization or when people meet or see other people, they don't feel it, right? So that authentication can really only come from your line managers and employees, right? So how do you bring your employer reputation? How do you bring your brand to life? We've found at GSK, and I think, to be honest with you, this is really one of the best tools, is storytelling. And storytelling is actually a it's been around in business for so long, right? But people, I think, forget about it, right? We use storytelling in marketing all the time, right? Storytelling connects people emotionally and increases engagement to a particular product or brand, right? You watch a commercial, it's never telling you the facts. It doesn't just say, hey, this detergent's going to get your clothes clean. No, it's a little boy coming in with mud all over his outfit, right? And the mom or dad not caring because they know the detergent's going to solve the problem, right? So now we've got to take that concept of storytelling and come up with those situations within your team, within your department, right? And translate those to the broader, population, right? So how do you talk about, for instance, in GSK, how do we talk about a team of scientists and technology experts who come together, right, to make sure that a meningitis vaccine gets to market and that people actually have access to it, right? How do we turn that into a story that will attract potential talent, potential diverse talent, right, to our organization? So people who may not have thought about using the detergent, right? People who may not have thought about coming to a pharmaceutical organization, will look at that story or series of stories and say, hey, that's a place I want to work, right? Because you're connecting them emotionally and you're increasing that engagement.
And it's got to relate and resonate with the talent that you're trying to attract. And I think you're so right in the power of storytelling. It's about creating that connection to purpose, and you want to make people watch what you're putting out there, see what you're putting out there, hear what you're putting out there, and go, "Ah, I want to join that company because it aligns with my purpose and what I want to achieve as well."
Yeah, technology is probably the most difficult uh, place or talent pool for us to tap into, right?
Mm.
And it's because technology talent is attracted to the Googles of the world, right? That's where they want to be and that's where they want to go. So how do you get them excited about a possibility that or an opportunity that they never actually thought was a possibility, right? How do
Mm.
you explain to them through a story that the work that they can do in helping scientists do things faster, right?
Mm.
um, will get an important product like a meningitis vaccine to the market like quickly. Like how exciting is that, right? So creating those stories provides a sense of inclusivity, right? Hey, I can
Mm.
be included, I can do that, right? And will hopefully start to um, get that diverse talent that you need. The other thing that we didn't talk about um, is this shift towards skills, right? So
Mm.
now you hear skill strategy. It's like the new phrase that's out there, and it's really interesting. I don't think it's anything new. I think it's a new term that people are using, right? Because I think a lot of organizations and a lot of departments within organizations have capability models, right?
Mm.
Um, it's how do you take those capability models, break it down even further into groups of skills, and then again, use technology and tools, AI tools, right, to help you exploit those skills and get those skills out to the marketplace so that people can then match their skills with the skills you need, right?
Mm. Mm.
So it's shifting away from tenure and pedigree. I want somebody who's worked 26 years at an organization, right? It's shifting away from that to say, well, what are the skills that I need in my organization, and does this individual have it, and how do we match that um, at a very granular level? And I think that too will start to help improve sort of the diversity within an organization. Um, that focus on skills versus tenure and pedigree.
And how do you go about setting that strategy on a global scale?
Well, I think you kind of have to start at you have to start at the top, right? What's the
Mm.
business strategy and what's the business trying to deliver? Um, because if you try and bite the whole the whole globe off in one big chunk, it's not going to work. So where is your business focused, and what do they need to deliver this year? What's the most important thing? And then focus on that. So then where for instance, if we are, I don't know, I'll go back to the vaccine. If we're trying to deliver a vaccine and our focus is in sort of the United States, and maybe we're also trying to deliver it in some Asian markets or something like that, right? How do
Mm.
you then take a look at what what does diversity mean in each of those markets? And it's different in the United States than it is in Asia. So now you then drop that down even further. Okay, well, what are the strategies that I can use in the United States? What are the strategies that I can use in Asia to attract the talent that's going to be needed by the vaccines organization to deliver that vaccine in those particular markets? So you kind of have to break it down that way. Um, Doing it sort of across the board, that'll work from a gender perspective. But I think once you get into different definitions of diversity, different identities, you're going to have to shift your strategy depending on the market that you're talking about.
Mm. And so it becomes um, a local strategy almost.
Yeah, a local strategy anchored by a framework, a global framework. I always like to have sort of a global framework, and then you can hang sort of your local or business strategies off of that.
What incentives may help to kind of attract that talent, or make them want to come and work for your company?
To me, it's about this gets back to using social media in a really, really clever way, right? The incentive that makes somebody want to come and work for your organization is probably multifaceted. But if we take it down to maybe two simple things: one, can they easily understand what your organization does and how they fit in? And that gets back to the storytelling, right? But then number two, do they see people within that organization that they actually want to work for, right? Because we all know people leave organizations, 9 times out of 10 because they don't like who they work for, right? So you really have to create, again, using social media. How do you get these line managers out there sort of talking about, again, who they are, what they do, etc. LinkedIn, it's a great platform, and it's so extremely powerful. So we try and, again, for those areas where we've got specific talent needs, right? Really try and get the line managers within those departments to start to use LinkedIn. Post stories. We provide them with stories, right? To make it easier for them. Start to post stories, comment on the different stories, see what's out there. The more you are out there, the more people will get excited about how you think, what you believe, etc., and will want to come and work for you. It's so funny because it happened yesterday. I was in a meeting, and somebody had mentioned that they were angry because the recruiters for their particular department, weren't using social media enough to push the job. And so I turned the question around to that individual who brought that up, and I said, well, what are you doing on social media to promote your department and the work that you have that needs to get done? And the look on that individual's face was like, it's crazy. But seriously, we have 75,000 employees in our organization. Those 75,000 employees have the power to attract the next 75,000. They really do. It's not the handful of recruiters that we have here, right? It's the power of the broader employee base, and it's the power of these social media tools that will really create sort of that system to bring that talent into your organization.
It's the power of the people, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
think that they have a better voice than the senior recruiters to tell their story of their experience and their purpose within the organisation. And so that's such a valuable piece to that strategy and trying to attract those that you want to attract.
A diversity hiring strategy isn't just singularly focused, right? You have to deploy a variety of different tools, right? So I think social media is one tool that's not used enough, right? And we just talked about that. But I also think, you got to mix it up, right? And going back to some traditional tools, right, will also sort of augment your overall approach. So as an example, and tech companies do this all the time, right? So tech companies will use social media to get the story out there, to get people interested, but then they'll target a particular geography and say, hey, we're having a breakfast meeting, come join us at this breakfast meeting. So they take, that They take the social media tool to create the interest, create the story, and then they bring it down to that human level even further. And that really then creates an extra layer, and creates interest, and will start to pull sort of your teams in. But again, it's not the HR and the recruiting team that are out there having the breakfast, right? It's the line manager and the employee. That's who you want to meet, because that's who you want to work for, right? So it's a whole, you've got to look at everything and figure out what's going to make the most sense, again, to deliver against your business strategy.
Aligning your business strategy to, taking how we're going to attract the people that we want, making that relatable, creating that purpose for them to go, I want to work here because of X, Y, Z. And you're so right in the sense that it is multi-factor and it's specific to each organisation. I agree with you in the sense that it is the employees and it's the line managers and the people of the organisation that will have the most power in helping attract future employees.
Absolutely. Everybody's always looking for this magic bullet, right? What's the magic bullet that's going to bring diversity into the organization? And there is no magic bullet, right? But one thing you can do is make sure that people recognize that DE&I is not HR's issue. It's actually a leadership issue. And it's a leadership requirement, and leadership has to figure out how to incorporate that in sort of everything they do, and recruiting is a piece of it. Recruiting and bringing in that diverse talent should be on every leader's objectives within your organization. And then it's up to HR then to help them deliver against that objective.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Cindy. Thank you for taking the time as well. And I look forward to catching up with you and on all things diverse talent strategies.
I've had so much fun. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity today.